and plan a little bit better on how it affects everything. At the top is passes. Do we increase them, decrease them? Do we have different costs of passes at different lots? That's something that a lot of cities do, is the further away the lot is, the cheaper the pass is, that type of situation. There's other ideas that have come to the table since then. Switch to multi-space meters, multi-denomination, which I talked about, improve enforcement in the evening, the concentric parking passes and meters, which is a spot that's further away costs less, a spot that's right by the door costs more. Increasing the parking meter revenue, for instance, on the street it's more expensive, that type of thing. Meter existing parking lots not currently metered. Residential parking passes. The American Legion Hall is a free parking location. And then a shuttle program, employee and or community. In our studies, we brought a really interesting idea, which is a community shuttle that could potentially pick you up at your house if you wanted to shop in downtown Ferndale. I personally love that idea. But going back to the other slide, to the different ideas, we could do all these ideas and not have a plan in action and not build a deck. So before we start implementing any of these ideas or decide what on a deck or where a deck or this or what else going on, is we need a plan. And that's something beyond what the DDA can do. We need assistance with the city. We need to come together. It's like I said, it's all the tiny little steps in between here and resolving the parking issue. Now, in the parking studies, there were 2 decks, 1 and 2, one on Withington, one between the library and the city hall. Now, we're not here to discuss a deck, not a deck, where a deck, with Sam I Am or anybody like that. This is just what came in the proposal, so we know that that's what was proposed. This is not about where a parking deck is going. This is about a parking issue, and that we need to resolve to solve it. That's what this is about. I don't personally know if those are the best places or not, but that's what was recommended. How much does a parking deck cost? With no down payment, a parking deck would cost $686,000 annually. If we don't put any equity into a parking deck, we're short $130,000 a year. Parking decks are not money makers. If parking decks were a money maker, there would be a lot of investors doing parking decks, but they're not. They're a money maker in as they help the community make money and help the community grow. If we do a $1.5 million equity deposit on a parking deck, it would be $556,000 annually. And then you're wondering, where does all this money come from? All this money comes from the cost of parking. It would come from the auto parking fund, and we would have to realign some of that money to pay for the deck. Chris? Wait. The city of Ferndale owns the parking lots, owns and manages the auto parking fund, which supports the parking system, issues the permits for development, and rezones for development. This is why we're coming to the city saying we've maxed ourselves out on what we can do. That's why we're looking at this as a city problem, city-wide problem, not just a DDA problem. Like I said, the city's moved the liquor license. The city rezones and says, yes, you can put a bar here, you can do this. I mean, can you imagine if Old Navy was rezoned to be a 400-seat restaurant?
That'd be cool.
But where would they park? Where would they park?
In the middle of the woodwork, where they used to be.
But let me finish my presentation. So the next slide, please. One of the issues we found in doing the research is that the money generated by the parking system does not all go into the auto parking fund. So where does it go? The general fund gets the parking ticket money. That does not go into the auto parking fund. Also, the auto parking fund takes care of all parking lots in all of Ferndale, and from an understanding I have today, it also funds plowing. So how is the auto parking fund funded? It's funded by what you put in the meter. It's funded by the parking passes you buy. And that's how it's funded, and it supports all of Ferndale. For the past 10 years, all the ticket money has gone into the general fund. And I don't have the exact numbers, but last year was $195,000. And if we take an average over the past 10 years, because that's all we have going back is that we know for the past 10 years, all the ticket money's gone into the general fund, that's about $1 million. And if the ticket money had actually gone into the auto parking fund, which it was supposed to, we could have our deck. So the downtown area and everybody who pays for parking in the downtown area and pays for a ticket they get when they're parking in the downtown area and everybody who pays for their passes has been supporting the city in its entirety. And what we're looking at as a downtown business, and I haven't been here as long as House of Chance has or the Dollar Store has or Rosie O'Grady's has, but as a downtown business, we have made this place pretty cool. The downtown area is the #1 draw to living and shopping in Ferndale and being in Ferndale. And we're asking for some of that support to come back to downtown to help it grow to the next level. So we're asking for immediate action. Again, what is immediate? This really needs to be one of the next things we work on, and we need to start putting together the plan. We need to start figuring out how we can increase our parking without killing the stores. Before we build a parking deck anywhere, how are we going to shuttle the customers to there during construction? So we need to commit financial resources towards a parking structure to help the auto parking fund become self-sufficient in sustaining the annual bond debt. Redirect the parking ticket revenue to the auto parking fund. Adopt a payment in lieu policy for intensification of use in the central business district. And from what I learned is that means that if somebody moves into the old Navy building and intensifies its use into a 400-seat restaurant, they need to put a chunk of money into the auto parking fund, so that helps pay for the building of a deck or building of creating more parking spots. And the city release a request for proposal for a parking structure and a financing plan. We've done, if this works, if we've done some ideas and some studies, now we need a real plan. And that's what we're asking for in the immediate, is a real plan. So on February 8th, these are important dates. On February 8th, we're requesting council support of the resolution because the council is reviewing the municipal complex proposals. They have some deadlines and proposals. And then on February 22nd, the city council deadline for deciding on the municipal complex project. So those are some important dates. If this is important to you, it's something that you need to have a voice with the city council. It's something that you need to, if you feel that parking is more important than building a new city hall, which we definitely feel that it is. I don't know how the finances are going to work, and I know the city of Ferndale is in a big deficit. I know there's a whole big other can of worms that's been opened up because of that deficit. Our concern is that the bond debt, the down payments for these bond debts, there's only so much money available. And if it's used for a municipal complex, then the city is paying for that until that bond debt is done. But if it's used for a parking structure, that down payment is used for a parking structure, then that parking structure pays for itself. So it's, what are we going to do? Are we going to do something that feeds itself, or are we going to do something that we have to feed? How are we going to grow this city to the next step? And one of the ways is through the downtown area. It brings people in, it brings up property value, it makes us a great place to live. So that's what we're asking for the city council. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Bob. And thank you very much.
Thanks, folks, for coming. I spent 3 hours here on Saturday, and there was only 3 actual members of the public here. The rest of us were already employed by the city, volunteers for the city, or on a parking committee of one sort or another. So it's good to actually see some members of the public here tonight. parking is definitely a partnership between the city and the